Welcome to Ancestral Wisdom, where the wisdom of the past guides our future. Today we're going to be talking about the rune Kenaz, which I have neglected to draw, and so I'm going to do that quickly now while I introduce Kenaz to you. Kenaz is the sixth rune of the Elder Futhark, and it's known as the torch. Now, the most important thing to understand about Kenaz to begin with is that while Kenaz is the rune of fire, Kenaz is not the rune of wildfire. Okay, there's a pictorial representation of Kenaz there. Kenaz is not wildfire. It's the torch. It's the fire that the human being has cultivated for a particular purpose. You take something unwieldy, fire, and you harness it into the torch, the hearth fire, the campfire, the torch which helps you see in the dark, the hearth fire which brings together the family and makes palatable and digestible your food, the campfire around which you tell stories and create culture. That's Kenaz, not wildfire. And so, fire, of course, is a complex symbol with many positive and seemingly negative characteristics. But Kenaz refers to the positive characteristics of fire. Of course, wildfire could be deemed positive, and when we discussed Fehu, we discussed some of the positive characteristics of that fiery energy. If you look at Kenaz, again, here we go. If you look at Kenaz, Kenaz is made up of two lines, just two lines. Pictorially, it looks like where are we? Pictorially, it looks like the flame of the fire being blown by the wind a little bit. Like you're holding a torch and there's a little bit of a breeze and the fire's going in that direction. That's how you can envision Kenaz. And since it's two lines that come together to make something that's more positive, you can think of Kenaz in that fashion. It's two things coming together to make something new. And those things don't have to necessarily be opposites. But they are things that have different characteristics. For example, if you take your action plus your inspiration, okay, two very different things. Action is more related to fire, right? And let's say will, instead of inspiration. And will is not really related to fire. It's something grounding, something solid. Fire is dynamic. So you take will and couple it to action, and then you have a result. That result could be a piece of music. That result could be a story. That result could be a sword that you're forging. That could be a piece of art that you're creating. Whatever it might be, it's two things coming together to create a third. And that's one of the most important concepts related to Kenaz. It's that creation. Taking two different types of forces, combining them in order to create. Kenaz is also associated with sacrifice, because you take whatever physical manifestation and then you sacrifice it in fire or however, and then you obtain a third from that. And that seems strange. Okay, so we're going to sacrifice this animal, or we're going to, pour out some of our best wine, and what's the point of that? What do you get? Well, in our day and age, we don't really believe, um, and our pagan ancestors, truly the more advanced uh, spiritual leaders of our ancient peoples, did not literally believe that there were gods that were looking down at the sacrifice and pleased by it, and then blessing their lives and making their lives better. One of the most convincing reinterpretations or reimaginings of sacrifice that I've heard um, was this: by sacrificing the best, the most loved, so the best of the wine after the harvest, or the best piece of the animal. Of course, they didn't always do that. Oftentimes, they sacrificed the unusable parts of the animal, but they were playing a dramatic role. Anyway, they were practicing putting off gratification, putting off what they wanted in the now in order to obtain future benefit. And whereas pouring out the best of the wine might not have actually pleased the gods and given them benefit, practicing sacrificing the best made it easy for them to make other sacrifices in their lives that they knew would be important in the future. In the garden, for example, I am trying as best I can not to have to purchase seeds from a seed catalog next year. And so there might be a crop that I grew, let's say kidney beans, and I got a decent amount of them, but I might be starting to run out, let's say, and I want to eat more of them, but I want to keep them to be seeds for next year. So me putting the seed in the ground, delaying my eating of that crop so that I can have an abundance of that crop the following year, is the delaying of gratification. It's the sacrifice. I'm sacrificing the seed so that I can have a larger abundance in the future. And so that dramatic acting out of the sacrifice of an animal, or the sacrifice of wine, or the sacrifice of something beloved, helps to instill within your pattern of being the knowledge of delaying the gratification that you crave now for an abundance of gratification later on. This also works within your own psyche. And so one of the most important roles of meditation and of religion is for you to reflect and for you to sacrifice the parts of you that you have grown to be attached to, the parts of yourself that you might love, but which now are obsolete. You can only emerge from your previous self and become your new self if you're willing to burn up and sacrifice the chaff of who you currently are now. The way I've heard this described, and this is not an original idea, so don't think I'm trying to take credit for an idea that's not mine. Almost all of these ideas are not original. They're ancestral wisdom, right? Some of which have been just reworded and rephrased to make them easier to comprehend in our modern age. Anyway, burn up the dead wood of who you are. Maybe there's an idea that you think is very important to you, or I am this. This is who I am. I define myself as this. Well, as you gain more wisdom and you acquire more experience, your experience might lead you down another path, but it might be impossible for you to take that path that new wisdom has led you towards, until you burn up and sacrifice what was, who you were. Because that who you were might be holding on. And so this can be connected to Kenaz. As we mentioned, Kenaz is the creation. It's the creation of art, of something new out of fire. Whether that's the symbolic fire of inspiration and action, or whatever it might be. So burn up your dead wood. Create something new. And if the thing that you're creating that's new is the individual who you will become after following the path that your wisdom and intuition has laid out for you, then you're going to be embodying Kenaz. Say one more thing about Kenaz. Man and woman coming together to create a child, two coming together to create another unity. That's the unity between the two. And of course, our ancestors believed in reincarnation. And so the child was the reincarnation of previous ancestors. And so you could think of Kenaz as the creation to reinvigorate the cycle as well. Okay. That's all I have to say about Kenaz at the moment. If you have any other insights or ideas or questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear about them. And let us take a moment to clear our minds and to contemplate what Kenaz has to reveal to us. So I'd like you to close your eyes and imagine the ruined Kenaz. Here again, in case you need a refresher. Imagine that ruined Kenaz vividly burning red on the black canvas behind your eye. And whenever I chant the name of the ruin, I want you to imagine that ruin burning and glowing bright with that fire of intention. Kenaz. 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 Virus Thurizan, Ansus Raido Kenan, Kebo Wanjo Hagala, Naudizi Sayera, you aspethro Elga, so iloti Urkano mana laguzing vastega o